Yeah, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. This one might be a quick one, but I might do like a part two later on. Because I think I'm short for time today, but if I do end up being short for time, I'll do a part two if I can get it all at once. Safe. Um, so this video is mainly about. So for me, this video is about people pleasing. That's a topic that came into my mind because people I've seen some people in my life, and I actively engage with people that tend to have this people pleasing way of living, which honestly is extremely exhausting. Like the thing is, you gotta understand, man. When you live a life wherein your life is made to please others, every single day is gonna be insufferable. All you're gonna do is live for other people, make sure they're doing good, make sure anything that they want they get. You're not gonna live for yourself anymore because you're living for yourself through other people, which is never a good idea because you still have an individual identity. It's not like you're a blank slate robot that is just programmed to feed off of other people's happiness. I get people that tend to do people pleasing get happiness through making other people happy. That selflessness side is good, but for them it's not about selflessness. It becomes an addiction where they need that to be able to feel like they're doing the right thing, which is not a good idea because you're going to eventually run into problems. Like, think of it this way, right? If you are, let's say you're married to someone who's a people pleaser, your life can be very tough because if you as an individual understand that you can't please everyone, the goal shouldn't be to please everyone. Innately, the people pleaser is gonna always have arguments with you, fights with you, and they're gonna be up your case because they would want to make sure they want to make sure that they're not affected by it, but being involved with you in a very strong way, they might feel like they'll catch strays, and they're also then trying to. But when they and the thing with people pleasers is like when they become married to someone, they attach themselves to that individual, so they now become this cluster, which like kids are involved too. They're gonna try to make sure their kids are the same way. They're gonna try to make sure you're the same way. Everyone that's in that cluster is behaving the same way with respect to pleasing others, which is not a good idea because now you're killing yourself slowly. Like, you're just gonna kill yourself slowly. Because the idea is like, no matter how much you please some people, they just won't care. Like, people pleasing is always a very subservient way of living because you're now just serving others and in return for nothing. And some would say that's valiant, but I would call that stupidity because a lot of people then eventually don't even get respect. They don't get anything. So my thing is, right, what I'm trying to tell people is, look, like, you could be all you could be as subservient as you want. It won't change the fact that this is a recipe for disaster. So for me, I think people pleasing. So what's the solution for it, if you ask me? Well, the thing is, there's no solution for it, but it's just a realization. The thing is, people pleasers aren't exactly any different. It's just that they grew up with an ideology that revolves around um, living off of opinions, and and that's where stoicism also ties in. But I'm not going to talk about stoicism today because I think I've talked about it enough. What I'm saying is, when you live in an opinion-based lifestyle, eventually you're going to hit a blocker, or you're going to hit an opinion that is going to be so hard to overcome that you're going to break. The only way to break out of it is to realize that at times opinions aren't the way to go about things. That's the only way you can get out of this, because you have to understand, man, like, life is beyond opinions and pleasing others. Life is much more than that. You should have the mentality to say with chest, I'd rather live alone and die alone than to live in a way that wherein I'm constantly like serving others and subject to their ideologies and opinions. Cause what is your ideal? What is your identity? If all you're doing is living off of other people's opinions, then you don't have an identity. If you're walking around eggshells around everybody, then again, you don't have an opinion. You don't have an identity. You're basically just a chameleon where you're trying to match the color of whoever is there with you. And obviously, for some people, that way of living works, but for the most part, it's just a very, it's a very sad way of living. That's the way I see it. Like again, I could be wrong, but I've seen enough people in. I've seen a lot of people, like, and I repeat, a lot of people in this system wherein like they just reach this point where they can't function anymore without validation as well. Um, so this is why people pleasing is such a bad way of living, and I feel like more people should realize, and they should ask themselves like, why am I doing this? As in like, why do I need to make sure I'm on that guy's good grace or that girl's good grace? Why do I need to make sure people like me? You know, if there's some direct correlation between that individual liking you and your finances and stuff like that, I can still understand it. But if there's literally no intrinsic value or extrinsic value that individual is adding by you pleasing them, then you are just wasting your energy, your time, and everything on something that just has zero impact. So, is it worth the squeeze? No. So you gotta yourself realize and start asking yourself these questions like, objectively, what he thinks about me or she thinks about me, does that matter? And when you really look into it in retrospect and you understand that none of this shit matters, your life is gonna improve a lot. But again, that's all there is to it for this video. I still might make a part 2 that's a bit more structured, or I might not, but I appreciate anyone who's watching. Thank you, and as usual, take care. Bye-bye.